Yo, what the heck is this? Whoa! Hey, NintenCisco here. Oh. Hey, NintenCisco here. So, Pikmin 3 Deluxe is approaching with its release date on the Nintendo Switch. October 30th, it's going to be released, and I've played the demo like 20 times by now. I know, it's crazy. I literally have gotten every badge that is possible for me to get through the demo. Before I talk about this video, not going into spoilers of the story, like minor, like, you know, stuff that you can read in the back of the game. 2, with Pokemon DLC coming out tonight, as of the recording, and Pikmin 3 coming out very soon. A lot of stuff that I want on my channel are Pikmin and Pokemon. Pikmin and Pokemon are going to be more of a focus for this channel up until, you know, we get to like Hyrule Warriors and there's a bunch of other stuff that I have planned. Alright, so in being really excited for Pikmin and just spreading the love, because that was the goal, to spread the love of Pikmin, spread the awareness, and just get other people on board, because this series really deserves a chance. Well, in doing so, I've come across a lot of people who are like, what is Pikmin? The heck is Pikmin? You also got the people who are like, I know Pikmin, I've seen a cameo, I've seen it around, I know people who played it, I myself have not tried it, I don't really know what it is. I'm willing to give it a try. Well, those who are willing to give it a try, the demo is out. The demo actually takes you to like the first boss, so it's pretty lengthy. I definitely recommend playing it. So let's jump right into it. What is Pikmin? Pikmin is a Nintendo IP that was launched on the GameCube in 2001. Miyamoto has designed it himself. It's one of Miyamoto's best creations. There was a showcase with the GameCube to show the processing power of the system. And it was showing that they could have 100 Marios on screen at a time, individually doing its own thing. That was the big selling point, you know, they wanted to show that off. Well, that ended up being the inspiration for Pikmin. Because instead of the 100 Marios, now we have the 100 Pikmin. I'll get into to why 100 is so significant later. The series was thought up by Mr. Miyamoto when one day he was chilling outside, just relaxing on a nice sunny day, and what was that? He looked down on his feet and he saw ants going in a line, right? Carrying leaves to their nest. And Miyamoto thought, huh, wow, you know, his brain started, all the gears started turning, you know, all the little machinery, and then he came up with Pikmin. He thought, well, what if they were like little people? And, you know, he started developing, Pikmin came into flourishing. So how many games does Pikmin have? Actually, for the small franchise it is, it barely gets any new additions to the series, unfortunately. It takes really long for a Pikmin game to come out. From Pikmin 2 to Pikmin 3, it took about 10 years. And I waited those 10 years. It was, imagine being a little kid thinking Pikmin 3 was coming out next year. There are 4 main games for Pikmin. You have Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2. Those were on the GameCube. Then you had a kind of a port of Pikmin 1 and 2 for the Wii, where they added motion controls. A lot of people really like those motion controls, and I think Pikmin like really got more popular, but still not popular enough, right? Then on the Wii U, they added in Pikmin 3. Now that game was beautiful, and that's the one that's getting ported to the Switch. That took out the motion controls, it added in the gamepad. So Pikmin 3, they're porting over to the Switch, where you'll be able to choose whether you want to use like a Pro Controller, which I like to use, it's pretty nice, or you get to use the motion controls. I can't do that because I have, you know, Joy-Con drift, so it doesn't work for me. After Pikmin 3 on the Wii U, we ended up getting Hey Pikmin on the 3DS. Huh. We don't really talk about that one. Hey Pikmin's more of a spin-off though, and Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 are in the same timeline. Not only that, but hey, Pikmin is one of Miyamoto's creations. You know, Mario's front and center icon of Nintendo. But Pikmin is also a big IP that Miyamoto created himself. And Miyamoto has a lot of love for that series, as well as I do. So Pikmin has been sprinkled over as cameos throughout, you know, Nintendo games. One that you guys know very well is Olimar and his Pikmin, as well as the addition of Olaf later on, were added to Super Smash Bros. Now, some of you guys have known them as the guys who are just throwing the Pikmin and running around, and the guy who got really nerfed badly in Ultimate. Some of the other cameos include his the Pikmin minigame in Nintendo Land, which I love a lot. That was actually more of a Pikmin game than Hey Pikmin was. I know, it's kind of weird. Mario Kart 8 had an Olimar costume with a little Pikmin on top of his head. And Pikmin has also made a cameo in Mario and Luigi's Superstar Saga. Really cool. I didn't actually catch that as a kid. So, I'm not going to go into crazy spoilers because I already have another video coming up that's going to explain the every detail about the story and like the lore and stuff. So what's the story about? There's actually a story, and the story, for like Nintendo standards of stories, is actually pretty good. The first game has Olimar in his ship. He's going on an expedition, right, for his company. Well, he gets hit by an asteroid and he crash lands into a mysterious planet. If you, the player, is playing the game, you realize, this planet's it's very familiar. It seems like it's actually Earth, but he gives it a different name. Turns out the oxygen that we need to survive is actually poison for Olimar's species. So when he crash lands, his ship gets obliterated to a bunch of parts. 30 parts. His life support system only gives him 30 days to live. So you spend the first game with 30 days. Yeah, there is a time limit. But trust me, it's still a lot of fun. But this time limit, you have 30 days to get 30 ship parts. Trust me, your first run is probably gonna be really hard because you're not gonna know where everything is. But your second run, trust me, you're gonna know where everything's at. I speedrun that thing. I'll get like 7 ship parts by like day 2. So after you beat that game, Pikmin 2 is briefly about you go back to Olimar's planet, and then something really bad occurs. Again, not big spoilers. You can read this in the back of the game. Basically, Olimar's company has a huge debt to repay, and they sent Olimar back out to that planet to collect treasure. So before, it was ship parts, then it became about treasure. Well, in Pikmin 3, they added in the Kopai, different species than Olimar's. The Kopai include 3 characters, Alf, Brittany, and Charlie. Those 3 brave astronauts were out searching on different planets because their planet, their people, are suffering from starvation. They don't have food. And so they're sending out these adventurers looking for planets that have food. Well, these guys, this is a very, very common start to the game. You know how Mario games always start off with Bowser kidnapping Peach? Well, in Pikmin games, it tends to be very common to get hit by an asteroid. I don't know what the chances of that are, but there's actually some lore that kind of explains why that's been happening, but we're not getting into that in this video. Unfortunately, the Kopai get hit by an asteroid just like Olimar did in the past games. The Kopai crash land, but they find out that on this planet there are Pikmin, and they learn to use the Pikmin for their goals, and they also find out that there is food on the planet. Now, this game doesn't really have much of a time limit like the first game, but you do have to keep up with your food supply, otherwise game over. So I'm sorry, I think I went a little too far with the story. I want to talk more about the story in depth in a future video, but that's kind of like the gist of the different games. Now, what do you do in this game? Well, I did touch up briefly about what you do in the different games, right? First game is ship parts, second game is treasure, third game is food. So you have different goals, but the gameplay is still the same. What you do is you start off with like 5 Pikmin, right? When you defeat it here, let me illustrate this for you. Look at this mean old Kirby. He's so bad. Well, you have Captain Olimar. Oh. Yeah, I know, I got plushies. Actually, I just have a recent unboxing of these guys. So you have the great Olimar and Pikmin. And what you do is you toss the Pikmin to your enemies, and they start beating the crap out of the enemies. And he's dead. Look, watch. He goes like this. He's dead. So what they do, the Pikmin then carry it to what they call an onion. An onion is like their home base. Then the onion sucks up the enemy and sprouts up more Pikmin. You just keep making more and more Pikmin. You start forming an army of them. You can have up to 100 on the screen. Just like that demo that they showed on the GameCube where you had 100 Marios on screen. They made it where it was 100 Pikmin on screen. Pretty cool, right? So there are different things, like there's these little these plant-like items called pellets, and the Pikmin will use those to repopulate themselves. Or they take out enemies like the Kirby. Kirby's not in the game, but it's a plushie I have. So you have to go through this planet and explore. There's gonna be different levels, but those levels all are pretty big. And what you do is you go throughout those levels doing kind of like puzzles, and then finding those ship parts. Now, you might be thinking, puzzles. Some of you guys love puzzles, others don't. But I don't know. I played lots of puzzle games, and although Pikmin is kind of a puzzle game, it doesn't feel like it's like puzzle. It's a puzzle game. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You can't just rush into enemies. I've seen lots of people play Pikmin this way, where they see a big orb and the first thing they do is and then they just shoot the Pikmin straight into the mouth. That's not how you fight enemies. While you're building your Pikmin army, you'll find new Pikmin along the way. There are different Pikmin species. In fact, there are quite a lot of them. The first that you start off with are the red Pikmin, the blue Pikmin, and the yellow Pikmin. The other installments of the games have different ones, like the purple, whites, rock, bulbmin, and the flying Pikmin. There's different kinds. So for example, the blue Pikmin, they can go in the water. The yellow Pikmin, the yellow Pikmin have different abilities in different games. But in the first game at least, they can carry bombs, and they can fly really high. They have these flappy ears. Here, I'll show you right now. See, look at these little flappy ears. And what you do is you can toss them really high up, and they never come back down. So if there's like a ship part that's really high up, you can throw the yellow Pikmin to get those, because if you only have red, you're not gonna reach it. At the same time, there might be a ship part that's like behind some very flaming enemies, right? They're shooting out fire, there's fire pits. Well, you can't throw a yellow Pikmin in there, it's gonna burn. That's why you bring out the red Pikmin, because it's immune to fire. The game, touches up on these mechanics, and like that's where it becomes a puzzle game, where you have to go looking for your ship parts or treasure or food, and you have to use all the Pikmin abilities together and strategize, to reach your goal. Woo! If there's one thing I can talk about for hours and hours and hours, is the Pikmin series. Why do I love Pikmin though? What's so special about it to me? Now, I love Pikmin. One, it's charming, it's very wholesome. The Pikmin are cute, but also I like that, people might look at it and be like, oh, this looks like a kid's game. I remember that was a reaction of my family when I bought Pikmin. These games are pretty expensive. You got Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2. Pikmin 1, this cost me, how much is this? $35? $35 as a kid? I don't have that kind of money, but I really wanted Pikmin. Pikmin 2 is probably more expensive. This thing was close to $40. I've never heard of a $40 GameCube game, and it was used. But nonetheless, as a kid, I really wanted to play Pikmin. So I remember when I played it, I booted it up, I'm playing as Olimar, and I'm grabbing the Pikmin. The Pikmin are very cute. So, when you're picking out the Pikmin, they start going like, they're making little noises, right? So my mom looked at me and she was like, well, until one got eaten and it screamed and the soul came out of it. Yeah, Pikmin's actually pretty terrifying sometimes. Behind all the colors and the cute voices of the Pikmin and the characters, there's a lot of terror. Lots of scary enemies that are actually really messed up that I think would do great if they made like a very CGI version of it on like Skull Island. Speaking of which, a lot of people might look at this game and think, oh, it's a puzzle game, it's cute, it's meant for kids. They might think of it like, oh, it's like little plants, little aliens, maybe, whatever. You want to know what I think about when I play Pikmin? Yes, it's cute. Yes, it's fun. Yes, it's dangerous. But when I'm in that planet that I don't know and I'm trying to survive, it feels like I'm actually going through Jurassic Park. That's how I would describe it. I see. All right, there's a ship part over there. So if I toss the yellow Pikmin there, there's also, well, I can toss the blues there, and uh-oh. And then at the end of the day, Olimar will actually write notes like, oh, the horrors of this monster chowing down on the Pikmin and their screams and cries. The last look they gave to me when they exploded from a bomb, like, whew, that's some heavy stuff, man. It's one of those games that, although the surface is very cute and cuddly, the lore behind it's actually really dark. I mean, it turns out that the Pikmin world is like years ahead of when like humans were extinct. I've convinced a lot of people to play Pikmin, or I've known lots of people who've played it or touched on it, and there's one common thing that I've always heard was that the people who have played Pikmin, the people who are in the know of the series, absolutely love it. I mean, I don't know. If you're watching and you actually don't like Pikmin, if you played it already, maybe let me know. I have yet to hear anybody hate Pikmin. The only people who trash on Pikmin, who say Pikmin is like, you know, that's a dead series, bring on the Zelda and the Pokemon and the Mario. Those are the people who haven't even tried it, and they only know Olimar from Smash. A long time ago, I did touch on Metroid, and I said the majority of people who know Samus and know Metroid only know it from Super Smash Bros. They only know Zero Suit Samus, but the majority of them have actually not played a Metroid game. Same thing goes for Pikmin. A lot of people who know Pikmin might say, oh yeah, I played him in Smash Bros. But they don't know anything about Pikmin. They never played the actual series. I strongly recommend the game now. The demo's out, it's free to play. I strongly recommend playing it. You can't lose anything. You won't lose money, it's free. If everything I talked about seems kind of interesting to you, please try the series out, please. From the bottom of my heart, this is one of my favorite franchises of all time. And I just wish that people loved it. It gets frustrating, you know? When it's like an uphill battle. You know, we have Pikmin 3 Deluxe coming out, and it's really exciting, but I'm already seeing it get overshadowed by Pokemon, overshadowed by Hyrule Warriors. And it's like, when will Pikmin have its moment? We just had a recent stream where Nintendo did a showcase of Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and they were showing off the really cool new features like badges and co-op. And all that happened was Zelda fans screaming about, end this is dumb, I don't want to see this, I want to see Zelda. And it was really sad because there was very few people in there who liked Pikmin and were just like, come on, can we please just have our fun? We've waited so long. There's like 3 Zeldas every year and we get a Pikmin like every 10 years, come on. And like, it's just very, very cold that a lot of people have towards the series. And it's not just Pikmin. Lots of people have a cold heart when it comes to things like the Earthbound or Mother series or Kid Icarus or even Metroid. Once again, Pikmin is such a special series, such an amazing series. It's fun. Yes, there are times in the game where it gets stressful, especially in Pikmin 2. Oh man, you see this guy? Imagine like a powered up version of him and they're like 10 on screen and you're like, what the heck do I do? It does get stressful, but the game is so much fun. The exploration is top notch. You feel so accomplished, you know? Because when you beat an enemy, it doesn't just fade away. No. You get to see the Pikmin, haul them off, and contribute to your army. Well, this video is super long, I know, but I love talking about Pikmin. I feel like even Pikmin fans who watch videos can never get enough of it. This will probably be the longest of all the videos because this is a start. This is a little bit of everything, right? I think we should end it here. Love you guys. Remember, no one's alone. You are all loved. Everyone has their struggles, but everyone is going through the struggles together. No one's alone. You are loved. We are loved. And we love you. And I love you. Did you play Pikmin? Do you like it? Are you excited to try it? If you want more videos, let me know. We have about maybe 5 more videos coming out after this one. So I'm really excited to pump them out. And we're also going to be streaming more Pikmin stuff later on. So you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you guys later.